Story: The Paradox of Pessimism, Unveiling England's Negativity. Bias, Chapter 1: A Land of Contradictions. In the heart of England, where rolling hills give way to bustling cities and history melds seamlessly with modernity, there lies a contradiction that has long befuddled both its inhabitants and visitors: the pervasive sense of pessimism that seems to cloak this otherwise vibrant nation. Despite England's undeniable beauty, rich history, and high standard of living, a widespread inclination toward negativity permeates its national psyche. Footsteps echoed down the cobblestone streets of York, a city that elegantly wore its medieval past amid modern facades. Sarah Bennett, a freelance journalist with an affinity for unraveling societal enigmas, was drawn to this peculiarity like a moth to a flame. Her recent assignment centered around an investigation into the roots of England's negativity bias, a task that felt as daunting as it was intriguing. As she strolled beneath the imposing shadow of York Minster, Sarah couldn't help but notice the recurring theme in her interviews: dissatisfaction. While England boasted enviable healthcare, educational opportunities, and cultural wealth, her conversations were often punctuated by complaints about the mundane. Weather, traffic, bureaucracy, each seemed to provide fuel to the fire of discontent. "Do you ever tire of the rain?" Sarah asked an elderly man sitting on a park bench, feeding breadcrumbs to pigeons. "Aye, but it's not just the weather, lass," he replied, his voice roughened by age and perhaps a tinge of disillusionment. "It's everything, isn't it? One thing goes wrong, and it all spirals." His words echoed in Sarah's mind, prompting her to ponder: was this negativity a cacophony brewed from centuries of cultural inheritance, or was there something more nuanced at play? She decided to delve into England's storied past, searching for clues within its labyrinth of historical narratives. History had gifted England with an unyielding spirit, yet left it burdened with the legacy of empire and the consequences of industrial revolutions. For every triumph, there lurked the overshadowing shadows of guilt and elevated expectations. Perhaps, Sarah mused, these expectations begat a pursuit of perpetual improvement, which, if unmet, spiraled into dissatisfaction. As the days rolled into weeks, Sarah observed how the English media wielded its influence over public perception. England's tabloids, notorious for their sensationalist approach, seemed to relish scandal, fostering a culture that often elevated cynicism. She picked up a copy of a popular newspaper, its front page emblazoned with scandalous headlines designed to provoke a visceral response. Even the weather forecast, with its dire predictions and pessimistic tone, failed to escape this narrative. Her encounters with various people revealed consistent patterns. Casual conversations quickly turned to heavy critiques of political inefficacy or societal pressures, a dance of words that seemed to follow an unspoken script of cynicism. Story. Not that it's surprising, Sarah's colleague Hannah remarked during one lunchtime discussion. "We're used to finding fault with everything. Maybe it's our way of coping." Sarah nodded thoughtfully, considering how the political landscape, laced with polarizing debates and enduring austerity measures, further enforced this inclination towards negativity. The public discourse often mirrored a pendulum swinging between extremes, leaving little room for balanced judgment. Yet amidst the sea of complaints and criticisms, Sarah discovered whispers of hope. Grassroots initiatives emerged as silver linings, showcasing communities rallying together to spark positive change. Small yet significant movements advocating mindfulness, gratitude, and mental well-being were carving out spaces for optimism to flourish. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of amber and violet, Sarah reflected on her journey so far. She resolved to dig deeper, to not only unravel the layers of this paradox, but to find the pathways that could guide the narrative toward a more balanced view of life in England. A narrative that, while retaining its critical edge, embraced the beauty of optimistic resilience. Chapter 2: Whispers of the Past. Amidst her quest to uncover the roots of England's pervasive pessimism, Sarah found herself increasingly drawn to the echoes of the past. She ventured into the hallowed halls of libraries and archives, chasing history's whispers like a detective tracing the steps of a centuries-old mystery. The venerable British Library, with its vast collections spanning the reigns of kings and the dreams of poets, became a haven for her intellectual pursuit. As she combed through stacks of books and faded parchments, Sarah began to piece together a tapestry of cultural inheritance that spanned generations. England's history, she noted, was a complex mosaic woven with triumphs and tribulations. The Elizabethan era, often romanticized for its cultural renaissance, was also a time of religious strife and political intrigue. The Industrial Revolution, while birthing new opportunities, also introduced social upheavals and glaring economic disparities. These narratives of progress, intertwined with conflict, appeared to have left an indelible mark on the national consciousness. The weight of Britain's imperial past, its rapid expansion followed by a gradual decline, seemed to cast a long shadow. It was a chapter marked by magnificence, but also by moral quandaries. As Sarah dug deeper, she began to understand how the remnants of this imperial legacy could contribute to a national introspection that bordered on self-criticism. One particular afternoon, as Sarah scrutinized a collection of personal letters from the Victorian era, a passage caught her attention. It was penned by a woman writing to her sister, a vivid account of societal expectations and personal trials. "We are trained," the letter read, "to find fault within our hearts, lest complacency overrides our quest for betterment." Here, Sarah paused, pondering how a pursuit of self-improvement, ingrained so deeply in the national psyche, could veer into an endless cycle of dissatisfaction. Story later, in conversations with historians and cultural experts, Sarah learned of the cultural scripts passed through generations. Scripts that instructed the English to maintain a stiff upper lip and endure with quiet resilience. This stoic demeanor, often construed as strength, sometimes masked an underlying discontent. In one such conversation with Dr. Edward Collins, a sociocultural anthropologist, Sarah posed a question that had been circling her thoughts. "Do you think this long-standing pursuit of resilience has fostered an unhealthy focus on what's lacking rather than on what's abundant?" Dr. Collins leaned back, contemplating. "It's a plausible hypothesis," he responded, "though it's not the entire story. The British, and especially the English, have always had a tendency towards self-reflection and critique. We admire it as a means of growth, but fear it when it becomes self-consuming." This insight resonated with Sarah, who surmised that the cultural inheritance of resilience and introspection, while valuable, could also serve as a double-edged sword. It sparked her curiosity to explore how this cultural inheritance played out in contemporary society. Armed with these historical insights, Sarah felt a profound need to explore how such cultural nuances influenced current attitudes. She transitioned her focus to the everyday lives of ordinary people, eager to witness firsthand how historical pessimism translated into modern discourse. Chapter 3. Conversations in a Cafe. In a cozy cafe nestled in the heart of Manchester, the clockwork rose, with its inviting aroma of freshly brewed coffee and the murmur of animated conversations. Sarah discovered a microcosm of English society where the past and present intersected seamlessly. It was a place where she imagined ideas exchanged freely, unhindered by the constraints of formality. It was here that Sarah met Rebecca, a school teacher with a knack for witty observations. Over the clink of china cups, Rebecca eloquently expressed the frustrations faced by educators, the bureaucratic shackles that often hampered creativity, and the relentless exams that seemed to overshadow the joy of learning. "We're constantly told what we're doing wrong, rarely what's going right," Rebecca sighed, sipping her tea. "Maybe that's part of it. We're conditioned to seek flaws, whether in our classrooms or in life." Sarah nodded, her mind awash with connections between Rebecca's experiences and the historical narratives she'd explored. The tendency to critique appeared to transcend professions, affecting even those who shaped the minds of the next generation. Her conversations with others in the cafe echoed similar themes. Paul, a graphic designer, lamented the increasing impossibility of home ownership, his dreams often stifled by rising living costs and uncertain political climates. "You start with optimism," he mused, "but after the umpteenth hurdle, negativity just becomes easier." Story. Throughout the day, Sarah gradually realized that beneath the shroud of everyday pessimism lay stories of thwarted dreams and unfulfilled potential. But amidst these shared grievances, she glimpsed the unexpected resilience that often accompanied the cynicism, a quiet determination to persevere despite the odds. Ever watchful, Sarah also identified the subtle emergence of change, initiatives and movements challenging the status quo. During a relaxed post-lunch chat, Sylvia, a university student, recounted her involvement in a project that sought to incorporate mindfulness practices into local schools. It was transformative, Sylvia explained, excitement lacing her voice. Even a little positivity shifted the students' outlook, and their enthusiasm became infectious. We're taught to overthink, but maybe we can learn to appreciate the present too. Sylvia's words ignited a spark within Sarah, fueling her determination to unravel how practices like mindfulness and gratitude could take root and potentially reshape the national psyche. With newfound inspiration, Sarah resolved to delve deeper into these promising avenues, hoping to paint a future where optimism rather than pessimism guided the nation's narrative. A future where the English could embrace critical introspection without becoming ensnared by it. Chapter 4: The Role of Media. To truly understand the negativity bias embedded within England's culture, Sarah realized she couldn't overlook the influence of its potent voice, the media. The English press, with its history of bold headlines and editorial daring, had long shaped public perception and directed the cultural conversations of the day. As a journalist herself, Sarah understood the allure of sensationalism, the draw of stories that provoked immediate emotional reactions. But her skepticism grew as she observed how often these narratives skewed towards negativity, amplifying fears and fueling the nation's pessimistic undercurrent. One crisp autumn morning, Sarah arranged to meet Tom Harris, an editor for one of England's leading newspapers, The Chronicle. They convened at a bustling newsroom where the clattering of keyboards and the hum of printers created an energetic atmosphere. Tom, with his sharp eyes and a knack for wit, had spent decades in journalism, witnessing firsthand the transformation of the industry. "I'm not saying we ignore the bad news," Tom began as they settled into a corner office. "But there's a tension between truth and sensationalism. We have a responsibility to hold power accountable, absolutely, but sometimes the stories we choose to elevate become self-fulfilling prophecies." Sarah listened intently, intrigued by a perspective that acknowledged both the media's duty and its pitfalls. "But do you think there's room for a shift, a way to balance critical reporting with stories she had encountered?" Her goal was to craft a narrative that captured England's complexities while highlighting pathways to a brighter, more balanced future. Chapter 6: The Unveiling of Hope. As Sarah's project took shape, her vision expanded. She reached out to contacts she had made along her journey, historians, educators, journalists, and everyday citizens, inviting them to contribute their insights and experiences. The response was overwhelming, evidence of a collective yearning for change. The series, titled The Unveiling of Hope, was structured around episodes that each explored a different facet of English life. From history's impact on contemporary attitudes to the ways media can inspire as much as inform, each story shed light on unique efforts to pivot from pessimism toward optimism. The series launch took place at a London cultural centre, drawing a diverse crowd eager to engage in dialogue. Sarah stood before them, her heart pounding with a mixture of nerves and excitement. She spoke of her journey, weaving the narratives she had gathered into a tapestry of resilience and hope. "We live in a world brimming with challenges," she began, her voice steadying. "But within every challenge lies the seed of opportunity. Today, we honor those who have nurtured these seeds into tangible change." As the lights dimmed and the first episode began, Sarah was enveloped in a sense of fulfillment. The stories came alive on screen, each vignette carefully crafted to mirror the realities and aspirations of the people she had met. The audience, captivated by the blend of storytelling and documentary-style reporting, offered enthusiastic applause at the series' conclusion. For many, the series was a revelation, a refreshing affirmation that amid England's often critical discourse, there were ample reasons to hope. Story. In post-screening discussions, attendees shared their own experiences of negativity and resilience, weaving new threads of connection and understanding. Following the event, Sarah continued to cultivate the series, allowing it to evolve with the ongoing contributions of her collaborators. Her work gained recognition, sparking conversations across the country and even garnering international interest for its unflinching yet optimistic perspective. Chapter 7, A New Narrative Over Time, The Unveiling of Hope, transcended its initial format, inspiring workshops, educational programs, and community initiatives. The series became a testament to the power of storytelling in effecting cultural change, celebrating not only challenges, but also the human capacity for innovation and empathy. Sarah, now at the forefront of this movement, saw the lines between journalist and changemaker blur. Through her work, she had become part of a larger tapestry of individuals committed to reframing England's narrative, one that honored both its critical eye and its potential for renewal. As she sat in her modest flat overlooking the lights of the city, Sarah felt a profound sense of gratitude. Her journey had taken her through the complexities of a nation grappling with its identity, yet determined to forge a more optimistic path. Here, amidst the rhythmic pulse of London, she realized that England's story would always be one of paradoxes, of beauty and criticism, history and progress. But now it was also a story of hope, woven with threads of possibility and illuminated by the promise of collective endeavor. A land once seen through a pessimistic lens was beginning to reveal its colors vibrant and full of potential, ready to embrace its future with a spirit both skeptical and resiliently hopeful.